Mystery School. And we're going to start our classes on astrology. Yay! Cool shirt, cool shirt. Anyway, so this is just going to be an introduction to let you know what we're going to do and all that good stuff. And again, this is Auntie E with your astrology classes. And let me first just tell you why I just love astrology. And because it was really my gateway thing into this whole magical mystery school. So I think it's a really great building block to keep going into other parts. And the thing I like the most about astrology, or one of the things that I found the most amazing, is that not only did I learn a lot about myself, I learned a lot about other people. And just even things like that I never really understood before, like you can say something in the same mannerism, the same energy behind it to one person, and they don't even hear you, or it just rolls off their back or whatever. Say the exact same thing to somebody else, and they're just brought down to almost tears. They're so sensitive. So realizing that and the difference between those two is one might be an Aries moon that's just like, I can do anything doesn't matter to me what other people think. I'm going to do what I want to do. And a Cancer moon is just, they get their feelings hurt. So there's just things like that, which I've never really gotten on that level. So, so that's one reason why I love astrology. Now, what the purpose of these classes is I want you to be able to understand more astrology. Like when you hear some of these fabulous astrologers on YouTube, when they say, Pluto's going into Aquarius. Hopefully that'll have a little bit more meaning to you by the time you get through some of these classes. Just some basics though. Remember, we're just going to do the basics here. That's the other thing. The other thing too is I really want to just give you enough so you can tell if maybe you do want to go on and keep studying and maybe pay for classes and stuff like that. What I'm trying to avoid for you is like you might pay for some classes or something like that and then get in there and just like, oh my God, I do not like this. Because not everybody's going to love astrology the way I and hopefully you will too. All right. So it really is just kind of a basic building block I'm going for here. Because remember, all of these mystery school subjects like astrology, the more and more you study them, the bigger and bigger they get. For example, I'm going to be teaching you tropical or Western astrology. And just be aware, there's a whole other type of astrology, Eastern or Vedic astrology it's also called, that there's some of the glyphs are the same and the general meaning of planets and things like that, but I think the best way to describe it is it's on a totally different platform. So I'm not going to go into Vedic astrology at all, really, because I don't know it well enough to teach it. But I am going to go into Western or tropical astrology. Okay, now just some warnings about these classes. First off, I am going to be giving you homework. Yes, homework. And to be good at astrology, you do need to start out with just doing some memorization. For example, the first lesson, we're going to just go over the 12 signs. And you need to memorize all 12 of those signs and what order they come in. And there are going to be quite a bit of numbers as we go along. Now, don't get freaked out. There are going to be things like doing this, like this. Here's an ephemeris with, as can you see that? Tons and tons of numbers and telling you where all the planets are on what days and things like that. This one happens to be the ephemeris from 2001 to 2050. It tells you exactly where every planet is any day that you want to pick. But if you're already sitting there going, oh my God, I can't do numbers, and through all these lessons, you're just going to have to bear with my clock. um, give it a little bit, because the numbers don't have to be something that makes you feel disqualified. Because really, astrology is an art, the interpretation of all these things, and a science. Oop, hope I don't get any, bad comments or anything from scientific type people. Don't worry, I'm not saying this has got anything to do with physics or anything like that. Well, maybe so. Anyway, I don't want to tread on anybody's toes. But what I'm talking about is this left and right sides of your brain. So right now I'm talking to you out of the left side of my brain, okay? Oh gosh, I just sound like Mr. Mackey, anybody who likes South Park. Anyway, so that's that very analytical, critical, that talks, that sees things, that says, okay, there's a table, there's a chair, there's a window, things like that. Whereas the right side of your brain, that's the spatial part of your brain. That's the part that doesn't speak, it's not verbal. It actually just sees everything as shapes, and like, oh, that instead of a table, they'd see, oh, there's a horizontal element held up by four vertical elements, something like that. So they're not labeling things like the right side of your brain does. So to be a good astrologer, you need to have both sides of that brain working together in tandem, just like a good pair of horses on a carriage, basically. And when we do look at charts, get to looking at charts. So here's like a chart. You can see this is pretty, this can be pretty daunting to look at. But there are some astrologers and people that think that that there is part of your brain, you wouldn't even have to have any of these classes. There's part of your brain that looks at this and gets it and understands it. And what we're trying to do is build a bridge between that unconscious, or that right side of your brain, and your consciousness, your left side of your brain. And something else you might want to do just to get ready for classes is get your own chart. Now, I have my own software, so I haven't had to go to the web and get charts, but you can do that pretty easily. I go to I just tried it to see if I could do it. I went to Cafe Astrology, and then they sent me to this Astrodienst. I think that means service. And free horoscopes, chart drawing, ascendant, and I got my chart printed out. Pretty cool, huh? And just remember, whenever you get your chart done, you need your birthday, your birthplace, and your birth time. And that time is pretty important. So a lot of times that time is written on your birth certificate. It may very well, maybe your folks or your mom put out some sort of notice on your birth. A lot of times birth times are on those types of things. You may have to actually ask your mom. And back in my day, all of our moms were knocked out with anesthesia while when they were having their children, so they're a little fuzzy on when their kids were born. Today, they're not doing that quite so much. So at least talk to your mom and get, if it was afternoon, first thing in the morning, right after midnight, surely there'll be some sort of birth story for you that you can take back. Because you might need to get your chart rectified, it's called. But first, go out and see if you can find that time of birth. So that's your homework for the first intro class. And we'll start out with the next class and just go over the symbols, the glyphs, and the signs themselves, and go from there. So thank you very much, everybody, and welcome to Astrology at the Magical Mystery School, and we'll see you next time. Oh, and just remember, from there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. Dr. Zeus, my favorite saying. Okay, guys, see you next time. Bye-bye.